Yeah. గట్టిగా ఉందమ్మా, ఇది మెత్తగా ఉంది తిను. పట్టు చేపట్టు, నోరు పట్టు.
We'll begin with the Vaishnav song by Srila Prabhupada. This is a song he sang in Jaladuta. Krishna tava punya habe bha, 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 e punya koribe jabe, राधा रानी सुखी हावे, ध्रुवाती बोली तो माता, ए पुण्य खोरी भेजावे, राधा रानी सुखी हावे, ध्रुवाती बोली तो माता, कृष्णा तव पुण्य हावे भा, कृष्णा तव पुण्य हावे भा, श्री सिद्धांता सरस्वती सची सुता प्रिया आती, कृष्ण सेवा जरा तुलना, श्री सिद्धांता सरस्वती सची सुता प्रिया आती, कृष्ण सेवा जरा तुलना, से मोहंता गुरु जगते मध्य उरु, कृष्ण भक्ति देया थाई था, से मोहंता गुरु जगते मध्य उरु, कृष्ण भक्ति देया थाई था, कृष्ण तव पुण्य हवे भा, कृष्ण तव पुण्य हवे भा, तारा इच्छा बलवान पाश्चात्य था, कोई जाते गौरंगे नाम, तारा तारा इच्छा बलवान पाश्चात्य ठान ठान होए जाते गौरांगेर नाम पृथ्वीते नगराधिया समुद्र नर नारी सकले बोले कृष्ण नाम पृथ्वीते नगराधिया समुद्र नर नारी सकले बोले कृष्ण राम कृष्ण तव पुण्यः विभाव कृष्ण तव पुण्यः विभाव कृष्ण तव पुण्यः विभाव कृष्ण तव पुण्यः विभाव ताहल आनंद होए तबे होए दिग्विजय चैतन्य कृपा अतिशय ताहले आनंद होए तबे होए दिग्विजय चैतन्य कृपा अतिशय माया दुष्ट जत दुखी जगते सबाई सुखी वैष्णवेरा इच्छा पूर्ण हो माया दुष्ट जत दुखी जगते सबाई सुखी वैष्णवेरा इच्छा पूर्ण हो कृष्ण तव पुण्यः विभाव कृष्ण तव पुण्यः विभाव शेखर जजे कोरी बारे आज्ञा जारी दिलो मोरे योग्य नहीं आती दीनहीन शेखर जजे कोरी बारे आज्ञा जारी दिलो मोरे योग्य नहीं आती दीनहीन ताई से तो मार कृपा मागितेची अनुरूपा आज तुम्ही सबार प्रवीण ताई से तो मार कृपा मागितेची अनुरूपा आज तुम्ही सबार प्रवीण तव पुण्यः विभाव कृष्ण तव पुण्यः विभाव तव पुण्यः विभाव कृष्ण तव पुण्यः विभाव तुम्हारा से शक्ति पेले गुरु सेवा वस्तु मिले जीवन सार्थक जड़ी हो तोमार से शक्ति पेले गुरु सेवा वस्तु मिले जीवन सार्थक जड़ी हो सही से सेवा पाइले ताहले सुखी हाले तव संग भाग यत्न लो सही से सेवा पाइले ताहले सुखी हाले तव संग भाग यत्न लो कृष्ण तव पुण्यः विभाव कृष्ण तव पुण्यः विभाव तुमी मोर चिरा साथी भूलिया मायार लाथी खाइयाछि जन्म जन्मांतरे तुमी मोर चिरा साथी भूलिया मायार लाथी खाइयाछि जन्म जन्मांतरे आदि पूर्ण से सुजोगा जारी होया जोगा योगा ताबे पारी तुम्हें मिली भारे आदि पूर्ण ए सुजोगा जारी होया जोगा योगा ताबे पारी तुम्हें मिली भारे कृष्ण तव पुण्यः विभाव Krishna tava punya beva, Krishna tava punya beva, Krishna tava punya beva. तुम्हारा मिलने भाई आबार से सुख पाई, गोचारा ने घूरी दिन भो। तुम्हारे मिलने भाई आबार से सुख पाई, गोचारा ने घूरी दिन भो। कथा बने छुता छुती, बना खाई लुता लुती, सेई दिन काबे हाबे मो। कथा बने छुता छुती, बने खाई लुता लुती, सेई दिन खाबे हाबे मो। कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा, कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा, कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा, कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा। आज से सुविधा हला, तुम्हारा स्मरण भेला, बोलो आशा दाखिला मता। आज से सुविधा हला, तुम्हारा स्मरण भेला, बोलो आशा दाखिला मता। आमी तोमा नित्य दास, ताई कोरिए तो आ, तुम्ही बिना अन्य गति नाही। आमी तोमा नित्य दास, ताई कोरिए तो आ, तुम्ही बिना अन्य गति नाही। कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा, कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा, कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा, कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा। ए पुण्य करिबे जाबे, राधा रानी सुखी हबे, ध्रुवाती बोली तुम्हारा। ए पुण्य करिबे जाबे, राधा रानी सुखी हबे, ध्रुवा बोली ध्रुवा अति बोली तुम्हारा। कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा, कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा। श्री सिद्धांत सरस्वती सची सुता प्रियाति, कृष्ण सेवा जरा तुलना। से मोहंता गुरु, जगतेरा मधेउरु, कृष्ण भक्ति देहा तारी भाई। तारा इच्छा बलवान, पाश्चात्य था, कोई जाते गौरंगे रना। पृथ्वी ते नगर आदि, आशा मुद्रा नड़ा नारी, सकले ही बोलो कृष्ण नाम। कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा, कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा, कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा, कृष्णा तवा पुण्य हबे भा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada So let's read the meaning. O brother, this is Srila Prabhupada prayer to Lord Krishna. The Supreme Lord Krishna will bestow virtue upon you, but he will do this only when Srimati Radharani first becomes pleased with you. This I surely declare to you. Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual master, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. He is that great saintly spiritual master, most magnanimous within this universe, who bestows devotion to Krishna in various places throughout the world. His desire is very powerful, and thus he is causing the holy name of Lord Gauranga to spread throughout all the countries of the Western world, in all the cities, towns, and villages on the earth, extending to all the oceans, rivers, and streams. Everyone may chant the names of Krishna and Rama. Thus, all directions will be conquered by the flood of transcendental ecstasy, flowing with the excessive mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When all the miserable living entities have have been corrupted by Maya become happy, then the Vaishnava's desire is fulfilled. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I am unworthy to do it, being very fallen and incompetent. That being the case, O Lord Krishna, your mercy is today arising in a befitting manner to make me become worthy, for you are the wisest of all. If you bestow your divine power, then one attains the factual substance which is service to the spiritual master, and life becomes successful. If that service is obtained, then one becomes truly satisfied and ultimately received your association due to good fortune. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Nrsimhadev in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.28. Thus, by associating with material desires one after another, I was following the general populace by falling into the blind well full of snakes. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the great sage Narada Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve the transcendental position similar to his own. How could I ever leave the service of your servant? O Lord Krishna, you are my eternal companion. Forgetting you, I have suffered the kicking of Maya, birth after birth. If today a chance to meet you occurs again, then surely I will be able to rejoin you. O my dear brother, in your company I will experience great joy once again. Wandering about the pastures and fields, I will pass the entire day with you in tending the cows, joking with you and frolicking throughout so many forests of Braja. I shall enjoy pastimes of stealing and eating one another's lunch. Oh, when will that day be mine? Today, that remembrance of being with you came to me in a very nice way. Feeling great longing, I called out to you, O Lord Krishna. Only because I am your eternal servant do I desire your association so much. Except for you, I have no other refuge. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्व भानुसुति देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय। वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं, यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्री गुरुदीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम्। So last week, the last thing we discussed was the punishment bestowed upon Kalakrishna Das. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called him and then he rejected him because he rejected the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was influenced by the Bhattadharis. Um, then Mahaprabhu came back and he said to Sarvabhauma, see, your people are like this. I reject him. Kala Krishna Das was heartbroken, but he was given shelter by Mukunda, Nityananda Prabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Gopinath. So they all arranged to send him to Mayapur because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has returned after 2 years and devotees were in deep separation, longing to be with Gaurang Mahaprabhu again. Somebody has to go and inform them. So Kala Krishna Das was given the service. He took lot of Mahaprasada from Jagannath Puri, went and then he met Sachi Mata, he met Advaita Acharya, Srivas Thakur, Haridas Thakur, and various so many other devotees, and then informed everyone that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has returned from South India. So they all became joyful. They all gathered at the house of Advaita Acharya, and they had um, mm, chanting, dancing, feasting for 2 to 3 days, like a festival, uh, sh- sharing the joy of return of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the last thing. This is the last. Um, Dina Dui Tina Acharya Mahotsav Kaila Nila Chala Yaite Acharya Yukti Vira Kaila. Advaita Acharya then held a festival that lasted 2 or 3 days. Thereafter, they all made a firm decision to go to Jagannath Puri. So, ecstatic dancing, chanting. All the devotees met together at Navadvip and with Mother Sachi's permission departed for Niladari, Jagannath Puri. In the meantime, at that time, Paramananda Puri is actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met him during his South India tour. After that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Jagannath Puri, and Paramananda Puri he went to Bengal, Mayapur. So Paramananda Puri came from South India also, traveling along the banks of the Ganges. He ultimately reached the town of Nadia, which is Bengal, Navadvip, Nadia. He heard the news of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's return to Jagannath Puri. He therefore decided to go there immediately. So Paramanpuri became ecstatic also. So all the devotees one by one they came, they heard the news, and they all were eager to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Isha Puri's god brother. So in a way, on the same level as spiritual master for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Parmanandapuri came early actually. He just started running and could not hold himself. Others were gathering. There were women, there were children, there were all the Advaita Acharya and all the devotees, and they were coming at their own pace. But Parmanandapuri was a sannyasi, so he had no obligations. So he just started running straight and he reached Lord Chaitanya early. So he reached Puri. Paramanapuri very soon arrived at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's place, which was in the house of Kashi Mishra. The Lord was very happy to see him. In the great ecstasy of love, the Lord worshipped the lotus feet of Paramananda Puri, and in turn, Paramananda Puri embraced the Lord in great ecstasy. So they had a lot of loving exchanges. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, please stay with me and thus show me favor, accepting the shelter of Jagannath Puri. Actually, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back, one by one, all the devotees they started gathering, and the devotees count in Jagannath Puri kept on increasing. So when Mahaprabhu saw Paramananda Puri, he said, please show me one favor. Please stay with me at Jagannath Puri. Paramananda Puri replied, I also wish to stay with you. Therefore, I have come from Bengal, Gauda, to Jagannath Puri. At Navadvip, Mother Sachi and all the other devotees were very glad to hear about your return from South India. They are all coming here to see you. But seeing that they were delayed, I came alone very quickly. There was a solitary room at Kashi Mishra's house, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave it to Paramananda Puri. He also gave him a servant. So we'll see that whoever was coming to um, um, Jagannath Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally took care of all of them. And for Paramananda Puri, who was on the level of his spiritual master, he gave a room next to him, basically, in the house of Kashi Mishra. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also gave him a servant to take care because he was very old, um, sannyasi, to take care of his daily needs. Now, the next is after Paramananda Puri arrived, then arrives Swarup Damodar. Aradina Aila Swarupa Damodara Prabhura Atyanta Marmi Rashira Sagara. So Swarup Damodar, now this is the now this is the first time Swarup Damodar is meeting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Swarup Damodar was the associate of Lord Chaitanya in Bengal, and we will see that. But this is the first time the discussion of Swarup Damodar comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. As we know, he is Lalita Sakhi in Krishna Leela, and Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, who is Vishakha Sakhi, they will be the constant associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So very important personality. Also later on we will see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Swarup Damodar that all the Vaishnavas in Gaudiya line will be under your care. So Swarup Damodar holds a very important role in the life of devotees. And if you read Mana Siksha Raghunath Das Goswami says that if you want to attain the personal service of Shri Radha and Krishna, then please pray and hear about Swarup Damodar Goswami, Rup Sanathan, and other Goswami. So there he mentions. And also because we will see Raghunath Das Goswami later on would serve under direction of Swarup Damodar. And after Swarup Damodar Goswami departed, after Mahaprabhu departure, Swarup Damodar Goswami also departed. And the personal notes written by Swarup Damodar Goswami was used by Raghunath Das Goswami to speak on Chaitanya Charitamrita in Vrindavan on the banks of Radhakund, where Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami would hear, and later on he wrote this Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Swarup Damodar, introducing him now, also arrived the next day. He was a very intimate friend of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, and he was an ocean of transcendental mellows. Prabhuda Atyanta Marmi, very, very close to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rasera Sagara, he was the ocean of Rasa, the divine mellow, just like Ramananda Rai. They both were exactly similar. Uh, History of Swarup Damodar Goswami. When Swarup Damodar was residing in Navadvip, under the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his name was Purushottam Acharya. So he was a brahmachari, I mean, in a way, young man with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They would perform Sankirtan together. It's just we are hearing about him now. After seeing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted renounce order, Purushottam Acharya became like a madman and immediately went to Varanasi to take sannyas. So when he heard that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is taking sannyas, he went mad. Like, how can I cannot live without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? So if Mahaprabhu taking sannyas, he became very angry and he became very mad in love of God. So Mahaprabhu went to Katwa to take sannyas from Keshav Bharati, um, who was actually a my was sannyasi Keshav Bharati, but later on he received the message Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, became pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Similar thing with Swarup Damodar. He also took sannyas from a Bharati Sampradaya in Varanasi. So he was also a sannyasi, Swarup Damodar. So after seeing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the renounce order, Purushottam Acharya became like a madman, could not tolerate, and immediately went to Varanasi, and he also took sannyas. निश्चिंते कृष्ण भजीबा एता कारणे उन्मादक रीलतेहा sannyasa grahane. He was very enthusiastic to worship Sri Krishna without disturbance. Very, very deep. And this is Lalita Sakhi we are talking about. So, very enthusiastic to worship Krishna without disturbance, and therefore, almost in madness, he accepted the sannyas order. He didn't want to do anything in his life other than um, निश्चिंत कृष्णा भजीवा. निश्चिंत होके मतलब बिना चिंता के. निश्चिंत मतलब peacefully, without any disturbance. He wanted to worship Krishna, and that's why in that madness, Unmad, he also took sannyas. But he did not accept the saffron colored dress. Also, he did not accept the sannyasi title. Ideally, he should have been given the name Bharati, but he did not take the name. Just like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Bharati means Mayava sannyasis. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also uh, should have um, should have accepted the name Bharati ideally, but he was given the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Likewise, Sarup Damodar, he accepted the name Sarup Damodar, did not accept the title, and he did not accept the saffron cloth also of the sannyasi. But he was never married in his life. Something about the nature of Sarup Damodar. Sarup Damodar was the limit of all learned scholarship, and he did not. So Sarup Damodar Goswami, his nature, he would study, not Mayavad Shastra, Bhakti Shastra. He would study. So limit of learned scholarship, and he would worship Krishna in a solitary place. He would like to live alone, and he would like to study and worship Krishna intensely. That was the nature of Sarup Damodar. So it was the limit of all learned scholarship, but he did not exchange words with anyone. He would not um, um, like go out and speak to many people. He simply remained in a solitary place, and no one could understand where he was. Nobody knew. He would not talk to anyone. Just stay in one place. Um, Mine of transcendental knowledge, especially rasa vichar, rasa knowledge, and mm, yeah, intently worship Krishna nischint hoke, without any disturbance. Krishna rasa tattva veta deha prema rupa Sakshad Mahaprabhura Dvitiya Swarupa. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the personification of ecstatic love, fully cognizant of the transcendental mellows in relationship with Krishna. His sannyas guru was also like Mayavadi, but he was fully cognizant of the transcendental mellows in relationship with Krishna. Um, like the rasas, the exchange of rasas, Madhurya ras, Sakya ras, fully aware of the rasa tattva, which is the highest thing to be aware of. And Sakshat Mahaprabhura Dvitiya Sarupa. So he's mentioned as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's second body, second expression of Lord Chaitanya. Um, and then service, how he would serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Grantha Shloka Gita Keha Prabhu Pashayane Swarupa Pariksha Kaila Pache Prabhu Sune. If someone wrote a book or composed verses and songs and wanted to recite them before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swarup Damodar would first examine them and then correctly present them. Only then would Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agree to listen. So Swarup Damodar, one of his intimate services to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always absorbed in mellows of Radha and Krishna. Um, and Sarup Damodar, one thing he would do is he would read from Geet Govinda, Chandidas, um, uh, Kavi Kan, um, um, Krishna Karnamrita by Bilo Mangal Thakur. So he would read various rasa literatures for the pleasure of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his glory was spreading far and wide. So many people would write, and they would like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to read their uh, commentaries and their books. So Mahaprabhu would not read anything unless it is approved by Swarup Damodar. Because Swarup Damodar was completely cognizant, learned in Rasa Tattva, he would first examine it. And if there is any Rasa Bhas or um, in wrong conclusion, he would reject them. Mahaprabhu will read only pure bhakti tattva if anybody writes. So this was one of his service. Also, Sangite Gandharva Sama Shastri Brihaspati Damodara Sama Ara Nahi Mahamati Sangita Gandharva Sama. In singing, he was very good in singing. Sarup Damodar. Like in spiritual world, Lalita Devi, she sings for the divine couple on many occasions. So Sangite Gandharva Sama, like Gandharva. Gandharvas are heavenly singers. So like that, Shastra Brihaspati. Brihaspati is demigod's guru. So like that, he was in Shastra, very conclusive in scriptures. Damodara Sama Ara, Sarup Damodar Sama Ara Nahi Mahamati. And there was no personality, um, Mahamati, no such intelligent personality like Sarup Damodar Goswami. So we saw expert in Rasa Tattva, he would love seclusion, he would not like to speak to many people. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he became mad and without any disturbance wanted to worship Krishna, went to Varanasi, took sannyas worshipping Krishna. And he was just there, just worshipping without telling anyone. Then as soon as somehow he got the news Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's return to Puri, he started walking to Puri and joined Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Became the closest associate along with Ramananda Roy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would scrutinizely review all the scripture, all the books written by anybody before they were present Lord Chaitanya. He would increase the ecstasy of Lord Chaitanya by singing for him, by reciting verses from various intimate scriptures. Expert in Shastra and supremely intelligent. There is nobody like Sarup Damodar. Advaita Nityanandera Parama Priyatama Shivasadi Bhakta Ganera Haya Prana Sama. Shri Sarup Damodar was very dear to Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. And he was the life and soul of all devotees headed by Shivas Thakur. So this shows that Sarup Damodar was dear to everyone. This is another nature of Sarup Damodar, his relationship with other devotees. Very dear to Advaita, Nityananda, Shivas Thakur, and all the devotees. So this brings out the personality of Sarup Damodar. Very loving, caring, good in making and maintaining relationships, isolation worship, and going deep in Rasa Tattva. And his life is sannyasi, and life is meant to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to increase the pleasure, Gaurangila Vardhan, to increase the pleasure of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then, so this was some background of Sarup Damodar. His previous name was Purushottamacharya. Now, he came to Puri and then they met after few years. So when Sarup Damodar came to Jagannath Puri, he fell flat before the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, offering him obeisances and reciting a verse. So he recited this verse as he came, fell flat at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, and then glorified him through this verse. O ocean of mercy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, let there be awakening of your auspicious mercy. This prayer by Sarup Damodar defines the kripa of Lord Chaitanya. What happens when one receives the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Um, the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which easily drives away all kind of material lamentation by making everything pure and blissful. So many lamentations in this material world. Like today only one devotee called me and he is he was or he is a senior software engineer. He applied for uh, a managerial position. He got up to the last round in his company, and finally 3 people could made it to the last round. and then he could not make it to the final selection point. And his closest friend, they were both senior software developer. They would work together, and he became his manager. He's a devotee. I mean, this person I'm talking to, he's a devotee, and his colleague friend, he became his manager now, with something like more salary or more position or hiring power and few other things. So lamentation, lamentation. So lamentation is a sign of it's not a spiritual emotion. Um, so the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu drives away all kind of material lamentation, um, by making everything pure and blissful. Because the thing is, um, we see only a small perspective, only a small vision today. How it is going to help me today. We don't see from the perspective of um, life, the way Krishna sees. Um, Krishna sees from the perspective of what is good for this devotee. Um, and the way Krishna sees is what is good for this devotee for him to come back to me. And we see from the perspective of what is good for me to be more happy in this life. Our vision is limited to this life, and then our desires are based on a bodily conception of life. Okay, what's good for me to maintain this body nicely now? So that's our alpa buddhi, less small intelligence, because we can't see a bigger picture. But Krishna does not see what's good for this body at this point of time. He sees what's good for this soul to come back to me. Different perspective. And since we cannot see things from Krishna's perspective, the best is any desire we have, my Lord, if you so desire. Because we don't know what to desire. We don't know what is a good desire. And our desires are always mixed. But the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can drive away all kinds of material limitation. Uh, Krishna says, for people in this world, uh, if one can give up hankering and lamentation. Hankering matlab what I want tomorrow, and lamentation means what I could not get yesterday, or what did not go well yesterday, and what are my unfulfilled desires. These two are the signs of um, conditioning, material life, bodily conception. It's lamentation and hankering. So, Sarup Damodar says, one who receives your mercy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all kind of material lamentation uh, goes away by making everything pure and blissful. Indeed, your mercy awakens transcendental bliss and covers all material pleasure. Um, One becomes transcendently blissful, and no more is interested in material pleasure. Krishna says, I mean, material pleasures aren't there. It's an egoistic pleasure. There are no real pleasure. Uh, Real only dukkha is there in material life. It's just because of Maya's potency, we cannot see that. That's why it's called Maya illusion. What is not looks convincingly right. So, by your auspicious mercy, quarrels and disagreement arising among different scriptures are vanquished. If you see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's one who received Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, becomes very clear with Shastra. In a way, what is the conclusion? What is a faulty conclusion? There are no quarrels and disagreements, but we see like um, impersonalists or jnanis, they're always quarreling and disagreeing among various scriptures, and they don't have a conclusion. And that's why they are called mental speculators, because they make their own conclusion. But if one receives the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is no confusion. This is his mercy. Your auspicious mercy pours forth transcendental mellows and thus causes the heart to jubilate. See, jnanis, yogis, others, they cannot go into rasa vichar with Lord Krishna, like Sakya ras, Madhurya ras, Vatsalya ras, like a relationship with Krishna. But if one receives the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he goes back to Goloka in a particular relationship with Krishna. So your auspicious mercy pours for transcendental mellows, um, mellows of devotional service, which is the five relationships, and thus cause the heart to jubilate. Gyanis and yogis, their heart don't jubilate. They may not be tormented by material desires, but their heart doesn't become blissful. Only the rasa vichar jubilates the heart, or Krishna Tattva, Krishna Nam, Krishna Roop, Krishna Guna, qualities, Krishna Leela, pastimes, they jubilate the heart. Your mercy, which is full of joy, always stimulates devotional service and glorifies conjugal love of God. Madhurya Ras stimulates. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. May transcendental bliss be awakened within my heart by your causeless mercy. So, wonderfully analyzed what happens when one receives the causeless mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lamentation, hankering goes away. One becomes transcendently blissful. Material pleasures are no more attractive. Scriptures becomes very clear. No quarrels and disagreements among them. One get access to transcendental mellows. One heart begin to jubilate. One gets access to um, conjugal love of God, get an understanding of that, which is the highest thing. So may that transcendental bliss be awakened within my heart by your causeless mercy. So, Uthana Mahaprabhu Kaila Alingana Duijane Prema Veshe Haila Achetana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised Swarup Damodar to his feet and embraced him. So Mahaprabhu was standing, Swarup Damodar fell down and glorifying by your kripa, by your kripa, by your kripa, this. Mahaprabhu heard, became very happy. He raised Swarup Damodar and he embraced him. They both became ecstatic in love and fell unconscious. I mean, we cannot understand this. They embraced, they cried, and then they started rolling and they became unconscious, like behosh ho gaye. They became unconscious. It's the love of Lalita Sakhi for Srimati Radharani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, I saw in a dream that you are coming, and so this is very auspicious. I have been like a blind man, but your coming here restores my vision. So Mahaprabhu's love for Swarup Damodar could not see anything. But now since you have come, it's like my life has come back. Um, like blind man has got a vision. स्वरूप कहे प्रभु मोरा क्षमा अपराध तोमा छाड़ी अन्यत्र गेनु करिनु प्रमाद. स्वरूप कहे प्रभु मोरा क्षमा अपराध. Saru Damodar said, My Lord, please forgive my offense. Toma chadi anya tera genu karinu pramad. I have made a great mistake because I gave up your company and went elsewhere. So, my dear Lord, please excuse my offense. I gave up your company to go elsewhere, and that was my great mistake. So, Saru Damodar Goswami was feeling bad that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to take sannyas. Nityananda Prabhu went with him, and Mukunda went with him, and others, Chandrasekhar Acharya went with him, and others stayed. But Saru Damodar, he took a different route and he went to Varanasi and took sannyas. And for 3 years, no information of him. Why? Just wanted, became mad with the news of, there was no aparat, obviously. Became mad. Um, Mahaprabhu took sannyas, could not tolerate. And he just wanted to worship bhajan. So he took sannyas. So nobody will say anything. He can just stay, it's a nature sannyas. You stay in a solitary place. Worship. So he said, Chama Aparat Prabhu. Toma chadi anyatra genu karinu pramad. I had done a great mistake by leaving you. I should not have left you. My dear Lord, if I do not possess even a my dear Lord, I do not possess even a trace of love for your lotus feet. If I did, how could I have gone to another country? I am therefore a most sinful man. And then his humility. I don't have any love for you. Um, um, if now that's how a Vaishnav sees, if I had any love for you, then how could I have gone to another country? But the fact is, he had great love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, why would he come back running? Once Mahaprabhu returned back, he started running and he came all the way to be with Lord Chaitanya, and he will stay with him the whole time. So he had great love, but he's seeing that since I left you, that's a sign that I have no love for you. I am therefore the most sinful man. Swarup Damodar then worshipped the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu, and Nityananda Prabhu in turn embraced him in the ecstasy of love. Then he worshipped Nitai. They all know each other because he was from Navadip only. After worshipping Nityananda Prabhu, Swarup Damodar met Jagadananda, Mukunda, Sankara, and Sarvabhauma as was befitting. So, not just paying respects to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the associates of Lord Chaitanya, and expert in loving dealings with all the devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then gave Sarup Damodar residence in a solitary place and ordered a servant to serve him with the supply of water and other necessities. He's also sannyasi. So Mahaprabhu gave him a servant. So gave uh, ordered the servant to supply him with supply of with to serve him with supply of water and other necessities. So he also gave him a solitary place. So he gave a solitary place to Paramananda Puri, then he gave a solitary place to Swarup Damodar, and we will see they will stay with Lord Chaitanya throughout Mahaprabhu's manifest pastimes. So this is the time when building up is going on before the Leelas to start. The setting of the scene is happening in this chapter and the next chapter also. Then arrival of Govinda. Govinda, you will hear these names very regularly. So in a way, the second half of Chaitanya Leela is beginning now. So far, preaching happened. Mahaprabhu's tour to South India. Now, Leelas will begin. But before Leelas, we need to be acquainted with the devotees with whom Mahaprabhu will perform various pastimes. So, Paramananda Puri, Swarup Damodar we saw today. And then there is Govinda. Who was Govinda? Govinda was the disciple of Ishwar Puri. Basically, God brother of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Recently, Ishwar Puri departed, and he instructed Govinda and Kashishwar that you both go and become a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this was instruction by Gurudev, Ishwar Puri. So Govinda came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and for the rest of Mahaprabhu's manifest pastimes, Govinda will be the personal servant of Lord Chaitanya. Very important personality. Even in Ante Leela, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be inside Gambhira, Govinda will stay outside as a doorman, making sure that Mahaprabhu don't leave the small room in Gambhira because his pastimes were too wild, in a way heartbreaking for devotees. He would get so many bruises on his body, and he would torture himself out of ecstatic love for Krishna. It was intolerable. So all the devotees, Ramananda Roy, Swarup Damodar, told Govinda that make sure Mahaprabhu doesn't leave Gambhira. And then Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, they will come and they will ask Govinda, so Mahaprabhu is okay? Then they say, yeah, Mahaprabhu is very nice. I'm staying awake the whole night. Nobody left the room. I'm at the door. So there is no exit. There is just one entry to the room. And then Saru Damodar would hear inside the room, and then he says, no voice is coming, Govinda, because Mahaprabhu would chant whole night. Then Govinda would say, my lord, Damodar Goswami, maybe he took a small nap, and they would open and Mahaprabhu is not there. Mahaprabhu will just disappear. Doesn't matter if Govinda is at the door. Mahaprabhu will just disappear, and he would just run on the street, submerge himself into the ocean, embrace the trees in his Madhunakya Mahabhav. So Govinda will be there throughout the manifest pastimes of the Lord. So here we see the meeting, first meeting in Chaitanya Charitamrita between the Lord and Govinda. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat with all the devotees, headed by Sarvabhauma, and they discuss the pastimes of Krishna. Sarvabhauma is another associate who would accompany Lord Chaitanya for the rest of manifest pastimes. So a setting of scene right now going on. So Mahaprabhu was sitting with his devotees discussing Krishna's pastimes. At that time, Govinda appeared on the scene, offered his respectful obeisances, and spoke submissively. So Mahaprabhu is looking at, okay, now who is he? So then he introduced himself. Govinda said, I am the servant of Ishwar Puri. My name is Govinda. Just before his departure from this mortal world, Ishwar Puri told me that I should go to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and render service unto him. So Guru's order, I have come to serve you. Kashishwar will also come here. So Kashishwar and Govinda, they both were personal servants of Ishwar Puri. Now see the adhikar of Govinda and Kashishwar. First, they were personal servant of Ishwar Puri. Then they will become personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Later, after few years, Kashishwar will go by the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to assist Rupa Goswami in worship of Radha Govinda Dev. So he will become a pujari there later. But at this point of time, both will be the servant. Govinda came early. Kashishwar will also come. So so Govinda is introducing himself and Kashishwar both that we have come here to be your servants on the order of our spiritual master. Kashishwar will also come here after visiting all the holy places. However, I have hastily come to be present at your lotus feet. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, my spiritual master Ishwar Puri always favors me with paternal affection. Therefore, out of his causeless mercy, he has sent you here. So there is that loving exchange between Ishwar Puri and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. ताहारे आपना सेवा कराइते न युयाय Guru agya diya chena ki kari upaye. As such, it is not befitting that the Guru's servant should engage in my personal service. Yet my spiritual master has given this order. What shall I do? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is apparently, he is confused because one god brother, like servant of Ishwar Puri, should not become a servant of Ishwar Puri's disciple. And by relationship, Ishwar Puri and Govinda are god brothers. Then how can I accept him as my servant? So he is asking Sarvabhauma, ताहारा अपना सेवा कराइते ना युया, वो मेरे गुरु के सेवक थे, मैं उनको अपना सेवक कैसे बना सकता हूँ? गुरु आज्ञा दिया छीना, बट गुरु ने आज्ञा दी है, but Ishwar Puri's instruction, ki kari upai, now what should I do? One is Guru's instruction, one is etiquette. So Sarvabhauma, what do you recommend? Bhatta kahe Guru ra agya, haya balvan, Guru agya na laghiya, Shastra praman. So Bhattacharya kahe Guru agya haya balvan. No, Guru agya is very powerful. If Guru gives agya, it cannot do anything. You have to follow. Guru agya na langhiya Shastra praman. The injunction is that um, cannot disobey the orders of spiritual master. The spiritual master said this. If he says the snake is rope, you say it's a rope. If he says a rope is snake, you say it's a snake. So Guru Agya Haya Balvan, Guru Agya Na Lagiya Shastra Praman. All the scripture says spiritual master instruction should not be rejected. Being ordered by his father, this is an example. Sarva Bhattacharya quotes to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being ordered by his father, Parashuram killed his mother. So Renuka, just as if she were an enemy. So there is a short story where Parashuram mother um, did some unchaste activity. So Parashuram father, he instructed Parashuram kill her, and he instructed other sons they didn't kill, but then he instructed Parashuram kill your mother. Now for Parashuram to kill the mother, but then he thought, well, it's Guru Agya because he was learning Shastra from his own father. So he said, this is Guru Agya, now what do I do? But I love my mother. But because mother instructed, he took the sword and cut off the head of his mother. So his mother died. And then the father said to Parashuram, I'm very pleased with you. Now ask some benediction because you have given her the the punishment for her unchastity. Um, so Parashuram father told Parashuram that I need two benedictions, father. So he said, okay, tell me anything. I will give you all your desires. He said, bring mother back to life and let her not remember what I did to her. So this is very intelligent. So now father could not do anything. So she came back to life and she didn't remember that Parashuram cut off her head. So, but the thing is, ordered by his father, Parashuram killed his mother. The instruction of Guru, na lagi aaye Shastra Praman. Shastra says cannot go around the instruction of Guru. So Renuka, just as she were an enemy. Okay, when Lakshmana, the younger brother of Lord Ramachandra, heard of this, he immediately engaged himself in the service of his elder brother and accepted his orders. The order of spiritual master must be obeyed without consideration. It doesn't matter. There is no intellect one should use while listening to the instruction of spiritual master, or emotions, or feelings, or comfort zone. None of these things are. Do you want it? Are you okay with it? Not okay with it? Are you comfortable? Not comfortable? Etc. Etc. Fill in the blanks. Na lagiya shastra praman cannot be rejected. They are like patthar ki laki. Instruction आया तो follow करना है. So Sarvam Bhattacharya said, well, you have to accept Govinda as your servant, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would ask devotees to engage in service of others, but he would not accept service from anyone personally. He didn't like it. But then Govinda says, now I'm your personal servant. And Mahaprabhu says, what do I do now? Guru Agya. So after Sarvam Bhattacharya said this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Govinda and engaged him in his personal service. So Govinda became very recipient of lot of mercy from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would also massage the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Would become very angry if somebody take the dust from Mahaprabhu's feet or drink the water that has washed the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Govinda would massage them every day. So this is the supreme glory. And why Govinda got this much mercy? Because he was serving his spiritual master Ishwar Puri. So Ishwar Puri gave him that mercy. And Ishwar Puri also got so much mercy because he was personally rendering menial service to his spiritual master Madhvendra Puri. So this is parampara line going on. So Lord Chaitanya mercy on Brahmananda Bharati. So now something about Brahmananda Bharati. Brahmananda Bharati, as you see from the name Bharati, he was the friend of Keshav Bharati. But he had Mayavad conception. So that's why the name of the topic is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy on Brahmananda Bharati. He had some wrong conception and some Mayavad conception, and he was little proud also. But he was a sannyasi. Bharati, Saraswati, like Prakashananda Saraswati, Bhattacharya, Samo Bhattacharya, Bharati. So there are 9 lines of sannyas in Shankaracharya Math. Um, um, so Brahmananda Bharati came. So the next day, Mukunda, who was one of the devotee who came with Lord Chaitanya from Bengal. So Mukunda informed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Brahmananda Bharati has come to see you. So he asked Lord Chaitanya. So Mukunda Dutt then asked the Lord, shall I bring him here? Because, little dubious personality, but we will see his transformation. So shall I bring him here? But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worshipped him like a spiritual master because he was like a spiritual master, because sannyas gurus relation. So he was like a spiritual master to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was a sannyasi on the top. So Mukunda said, shall I bring him here? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Brahmananda Bharati is like my spiritual master. It is better that I go to see him. So this is his Vaishnava etiquette. Mahaprabhu would perfectly follow Vaishnava etiquette. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees came into the presence of Brahmananda Bharati. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees approached him, he saw that he was covered with a deer skin. Seeing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very unhappy. Usually, a sannyasi should wear a sannyas robe, like saffron. Deer skin means like Babaji's. Usually people wear deer skin many times out of, to show that I am so renounced that I'm a Babaji now. So that feeling may also be there. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sensed it in Brahmananda Bharati. So Mahaprabhu came with Mukunda. Brahmananda Bharati also came. Brahmananda Bharati was not wearing anything, just lion cloth, like a deer skin. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not at all happy with that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pretended not to see him. So like Brahmanda Bharati is here and and Mukunda is next to him. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking Mukunda, where is Brahmananda Bharati? And Brahmanda Bharati is right here. But he's pretending, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is pretending as if he never saw him, just to teach him a lesson. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pretended not to see him. Instead, he asked Mukunda, where is Brahmananda Bharati? Who is my spiritual master? So a there is a tone of correction, which is Mahaprabhu's mercy, and then there is a tone of affection, correction, affection, which is he is my spiritual master. Where is he? And he's standing right there. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is denying to accept this is Brahmananda Bharati because he knows this is Brahmananda Bharati, but he's denying to accept because um, Brahmanda Bharati should be in saffron cloth. This man is in deer skin. So he cannot be Brahmanda Bharati. He is not a sannyasi. So where is my spiritual master Brahmanda Bharati? So in this way, Mahaprabhu is acting and teaching simultaneously. So Mukunda Dutt replied, my lord, it's right in front of you in your presence. This is Brahmananda Bharati. So Lord replied, no, you are incorrect. This is not Brahmananda Bharati. So he said, no, my lord, this is Brahmananda Bharati. He said, no, this is not Brahmananda Bharati. So you must be talking of someone else. For this is surely not Brahmananda Bharati. You simply have no knowledge. Why should Brahmananda Bharati wear a deer skin? So he's telling Mukunda, you are ignorant. He is not Brahmanda Bharati. He is not in saffron cloth. He is wearing a deer skin. How can he Brahmanda Bharati? Brahmanda Bharati is witnessing, listening, and feeling embarrassed. So when Brahmanda Bharati heard this, he thought, my deer skin is not approved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus admitting his mistake, Brahmana Bharati thought he spoke well. I put on this deer skin only for prestige. I cannot cross over the ocean of Nisan simply by wearing a deer skin. So naturally, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sitting in the heart. So he understood from his heart that actually why I accepted this deer skin because of my false prestige. This is not good. By wearing a deer skin, I cannot go back to Godhead. By external appearance, by glorifying myself, by acting in certain way, no. Only by pleasing Krishna, I can go back to Godhead. So from today on, I shall not wear this deer skin. As soon as Brahma and the Bharati decided this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding his mind, immediately sent for the robes of sannyasi. No word spoken, just heart to heart connection. Ramana Bharati thought, this is not good. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, he cannot be Ramana Bharati. He should wear, he's not wearing he's wearing deer skin. How can he be Brahmanda Bharati? Acceptance internally, Mahaprabhu understood that he is accepted internally. So he arranged, okay, bring sannyas robes for our Brahmanda Bharati. So in that way, he corrected. So as soon as Brahmanda Bharati gave up his deer skin and covered himself with sannyas robes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and offered him respect at his lotus feet. And that's how Mahaprabhu would correct and train devotees. And we will see many, many examples of how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would train devotees. Prabhupada said training devotees is a very important service. So after he accepted the sannyas robe and he wore the sannyas robe, Mahaprabhu personally went and paid his obeisances, his respects to Brahmanda Bharati. Sampratika dui Brahma iha chala chala Jagannath achela Brahma tumita sachala. And now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to understand the philosophy of Brahmananda Bharati. भाई आप तो भारतीय संप्रदाय से हो. भारतीय संप्रदाय मतलब impersonalist. तो Brahmana Bharati said, Sampratika dui Brahma iha chala chala. He says, at the present moment, um, 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 Dui Brahma. Brahma means there are two Brahmans. Brahman, now the word Brahman itself means raises the flags in certain ways. But Brahman means Krishna also. Brahman means any three. So he said, Dui Brahman iha. Iha matlab here there are Dui Brahman. Chala chala. Chala achala. Chala means one is moving Brahman. Achala one is non-moving Brahman. Um, Jagannatha achala Brahma. Tumita Sachala. So Jagannath is Achala and you are Sachala. Sachala means you are moving Brahman and Jagannath is stationary Brahman. So there are two Brahman right now. So this was little kind of raising flags for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu wanted to clarify, kind of, okay, what is your conception of Krishna consciousness? So Brahmananda Bharati spoke thus, at the present moment I see two Brahmans. One Brahman is Lord Jagannath, who does not move, and the other Brahman who is moving is you. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, actually, to tell you the truth, due to your presence, there are now two moving Brahmans at Jagannath Puri. So Mahaprabhu is like testing him. So he's telling, no, there is not one moving Brahman, which is me. There are two moving Brahman. Both Brahmananda and Gaura Hari, Mahaprabhu himself is telling that you are also Brahman, I am also Brahman, Jagannath, we are all Brahmans. So in a way, he's testing what will be the response of Brahmananda Bharati on this. So both Brahmananda and Gaurahari are moving, whereas Black Lord Jagannath is immobile. But we are all Brahman in a way, because that's what impersonalists say. You are Brahman, I am Brahman, everybody is Brahman. So he is telling that there are two Brahman, one non-moving, one moving, and you are moving Brahman, he is non-moving Brahman. Mahaprabhu says, no, there is one more. You, Bharati, you are also Brahman. We are all Brahman. So let's see Brahmananda Bharati. Now, actually, Brahmananda Bharati, the moment he saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he changed, actually. And that's why Mahaprabhu is making sure what is the conception of Brahmananda Bharati before. Later on, we will see after this episode, Brahmananda Bharati will become another close associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for future, just like Paramananda Puri. He would also be with Lord Chaitanya. So right now that clarification is going on. So Brahmananda Bharati said, my dear Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is was also a Mayava sannyasi, Shankaracharya. So he is telling, my dear Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, please become the mediator in this logical argument between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and me. What is the argument? Brahmanda Bharati is telling, you both are Brahman. There is no difference between Jagannath and Lord Chaitanya, which is a perfect understanding. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is testing and he is telling, you are also Brahman. You and I both are Brahman. So, so let's see Sarvam Bhattacharya how he deals with this situation. So Brahmanda Bharati continued, the living entity is localized, whereas the supreme Brahman is all pervading. That is the verdict of the revealed scriptures, which is true also. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, the Brahma Samhita says, Anda tarastha pramanu chayantarastham. By virtue of his all-pervasive nature, the Supreme Lord is within the universe as well as within all the elements of the universe. He is even within the atom. In this way, the Supreme Lord Govinda is all-pervasive. On the other hand, the living entities are very, very small. It is said that the living entity is 1/10,000th tip of the hair. So, it is true that Brahman is all-pervasive. So, God is realized as Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan. As Brahman feature, he's within every atom, he's everywhere within the universe, everywhere. As Paramatma, he is within the heart, and as Bhagavan, he is um, um, Akhila Rasamrita Murti, enjoying in Golok Vrindavan. So the living entity is always localized. Living entity is not all pervading. So living entity is localized, whereas the supreme Brahman is all pervading. This is the revealed of all. This is the verdict of all revealed scriptures. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu purified me by, this is Brahmananda Bharati speaking. Very good arguments he gives. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu purified me by taking away my dear skin. This is a proof that he is all pervasive and all powerful, and I am subordinate to him. So there's a clear conception that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is superior, I am inferior. Means he is not in the feeling that he is God and I am God, but he is accepting that he is superior to me because he corrected me. He pointed out my mistake and it was logical and I got transformed. So in that way, I am subordinate to him. And then um, Brahmananda Bharati, he quotes from Mahabharata, uh, Vishnu Sahasranam, 1,000 names. Suvarna Varno Hemango, Varangas Chadanangadi, Sannyasa Kret Chama Shanto, Nishtha Shanti Parayana. So, and he's very learned in with the scripture. He's sannyasi, very learned. So he's telling, quoting one of the form of Lord Vishnu. And he's telling his bodily hue is golden, Suvarna, and his whole body is like molten gold, Hemango. Every part of his body is very beautifully constructed and smeared with sandalwood pulp. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body was covered with sandalwood pulp always. Accepting the renounced order, the Lord is always equipoised. He is firmly fixed in his mission of chanting Hare Krishna mantra, and he is firmly situated in his dualistic conclusion, um, and in his peace. Very sober, fixed in Shastric, always chanting the names, golden complexion. So quoting um, Vishnu Sahasranam. E saba namera iha haya nijashpada Chandanakta Prashada Dora Shri Bhuje Angada. All the symptoms mentioned in the verse from the Vishnu Sahasranam Stotra are visible in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His arms are decorated with sandalwood pulp, and the thread received from the Sri Jagannath deity, and these are ornamental bangles. So he is glorifying Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, Brahmananda Bharati is trying to convey Sarvam Bhattacharya that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sakshat Narayan. And this is what is the name of Vishnu in Vishnu Sahasranam. And he meets all those symptoms. He chants his own holy names, his golden complexion, his arms are decorated with sandalwood pulp. So all the symptoms, and one of the incarnation of the Lord takes sannyas. There is no incarnation of the Lord who ever took sannyas. And he golden chanting his own names, carrying, so he perfectly matches and nobody else matches that description. So very intelligent, and he could see, and then let's continue further and things will become more and more clear. भट्टाचार्य कहे भारती देखी तोमार जया प्रभु कहे से ही कहा सही सत्य हया. After hearing this, Sarva Bhattacharya rendered his judgment saying, Brahmananda Bharati, I see that you are victorious. So Brahmananda Bharati asked Sarva Bhattacharya that you become the judge between us. And Mahaprabhu is telling, I am also Brahman. And I am telling, no, he is only Brahman. He is only Bhagwan, and he is Sakshat Bhagwan, and I am not, and none of us are. And Bhagwan is Krishna. So Brahmananda Bharati is coming to this conclusion, and Mahaprabhu would be very, very pleased to hear this. And that's what Mahaprabhu wanted to hear. Okay, आपका बदलाव हो गया या बदलाव करना बाकी है? Do we have to change or you already transformed? So that was the purpose of Mahaprabhu. So then when he heard, when Brahmananda Bharati quoting scripture proved that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sakshat Bhagwan, not just all pervading, he's Sakshat Bhagwan, chanting his all names, then Sarvam Bhattacharya bole, देखी तो हमारा जय. Jai means all glories to you, Brahmananda Bharati. Prabhu kahe yehi kaha, sahi satya hai. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately said, I accept whatever Brahmananda Bharati has said. So means, okay, great, wonderful, excellent. keep going. It is quite all right with me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, okay, I accept, continue. So Brahmanda Bharati said, I ask you to hear attentively. Then he told, Brahmanda Bharati told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that I want to share one more thing with you. Please hear it very attentively. I have been meditating, and now he is revealing his heart, Brahmanda Bharati. He is telling, I have been meditating on the impersonal Brahman since my birth, but since I have seen you, I have fully experienced Krishna. So, darshan matra hoila, um, 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 Hriday transformation. Just by seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he accepted Krishna's Supreme Personality of Godhead. No conversation needed. But many devotees also knows that this is a Mayava sannyasi. And although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sitting in the heart, Mahaprabhu wanted him to test and to speak his understanding. So he said, yes, you are Sakshat Krishna. Um, and I was worshipping impersonal Brahman before, but after seeing you, I experienced Bhagwan Krishna. Not like there is no Krishna, there is only energy of Krishna. Actually, I experienced Krishna just by seeing you. Um, then Sarvam Bhattacharya, he became very happy. So he said, since first Brahmanda Bharati continues some more verses. So Brahmanda Bharati continued, since I have seen you, I have been feeling Lord Krishna's presence in my mind. As soon as he saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his mind, he was always remembering Krishna in the personal form, playing the flute, threefold bended form, with various rasas going on in his mind. So he said, since I have seen you, I have been feeling Lord Krishna's presence in my mind and have been seeing him before my eyes. So this is Brahmanda Bharati realization. I am seeing Krishna before my eyes. I now want to chant the holy name of Krishna. His heart is already transformed just by the darshan matra of Gaurahari. So he said, now I want to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. Over and above this, within my heart, I consider you to be Krishna, and I am therefore eager to serve you. Now, this is the kind of very pleasing to Lord Chaitanya. And he said, I am seeing Krishna in my mind, in my heart. I want to chant Krishna's name, and I am convinced that you are that Krishna, and I want to become your servant. Brahmanda Bharati. A state of utter humility, acceptance, realization. And this is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on Brahmanda Bharati. And then some example. Bilva Mangal Thakur abandoned his impersonal realization for the realization of the personality of Godhead. I now see that my condition is similar to his, for it has already changed. So then, um, so this is another very nice thing that Brahmanda Bharati, he knows that Bilamangal Thakur was also an impersonalist, and later on he became a Bhagwan realized devotee of Lord Krishna. He knows this story of Bilamangal Thakur. So initially he was thinking Bilamangal Thakur was a fool, that he was Brahman realized and he became distracted and he started worshipping a form. He was a fool. And now he is telling that actually I want to follow the path of Bilva Mangal. Just like he was impersonalist, got experience of Krishna, became a bhakta. Likewise, now I got an experience of Krishna, and now I desire to chant Krishna's name and want to follow you, become your servant, and I want to become a bhakta also. And in his early life, Bilva Mangal Thakur was an impersonalistic monist, and he used to meditate upon the impersonal Brahman effulgence. Later, he became a devotee of Lord Krishna. And this is a verse by Bilva Mangal Thakur. And he himself says in his book Karnamrita, uh, which which Brahmananda Bharati is quoting to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sarvam Bhattacharya. So Bilamangal Thakur says, although I was worshipped by those on the path of monism and initiated into self-realization through the yoga system, I have nonetheless been forcibly turned into a maidservant of Srimati Radharani, maidservant, by some cunning boy who is always joking with the gopis. So Bilamangal Thakur says, I was a monist before myself, but then this boy, Krishna, by joking with the gopis, by his leela, he has forced me to become a maid servant. Maid servant means naturally a gopi. I mean, he is in Madhurya Ras in his Siddha Swarup. So I have been forcibly turned into a maid servant. So Bilamangal Thakur himself is telling how I was pulled into Bhagwan realization. Similar incident happened with Sukadev Goswami. Sukadev Goswami was also a monist, um, self-realized, Brahman realized, and then he heard Bhagavatam and he became a bhakta. Likewise, Bilvamangal Thakur was a monist. He heard about Krishna's pastime with the gopis and he became a bhakta. And here, Brahmananda Bharati, impersonalist, he um, uh, saw the beauty of Krishna in his mind and became a bhakta. Kesha Bharati, spiritual master of um, uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I mean Sannyas Guru Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, heard the glories of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, danced in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, in that way experienced Krishna, became a bhakta. Then the story of four Kumaras, monist, Brahman realized, saw the beauty of Lord Vishnu, smelled the fragrance of Tulasi at the feet of Lord Vishnu, became a bhakta. So, so Brahmanda Bharati is telling, I am following all these examples. Now I also want to become a bhakta and chant the holy name of Krishna, and you are Krishna. So wonderful realization. Sarva Bhattacharya became extremely happy, and since he was asked to become a mediator between Sarva Bhattacharya and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, between Brahmananda Bharati and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so Sarva Bhattacharya said, without having ecstatic love for Krishna, one cannot see him directly. Means he's telling that I saw Krishna and I am seeing Krishna in front of me as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I am seeing Krishna within my mind also. So Sarvam Bhattacharya conclusion that you are the stage of bhava. Without having ecstatic love, which is bhava bhakti, one cannot see him directly. Therefore, through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, um, Brahmananda Bharati has acquired direct vision of the Lord. He's seeing the Lord internally and he's seeing the Lord externally. Since Brahmananda Bharati was an advanced devotee, he saw Krishna in the person of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. When Mahaprabhu heard this, that glorifying Lord Chaitanya and calling Lord Chaitanya as Krishna, when Mahaprabhu heard this from Sarva Bhattacharya and from Brahmanda Bharati, Prabhu kahe Vishnu Vishnu ki kaha sarva bhauma arti stuti haya e nindara lakshana. So Mahaprabhu is telling ki kaha sarva bhauma. How can you say that? Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself showed his um, um, six-handed Chadbhuj form to Sarva Bhattacharya. So Sarva Bhattacharya is very clear who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is Sakshat Krishna. He himself saw. But when in a group assembly, when they both are glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Sakshat Krishna, and by his mercy you got Bhava Bhakti and you got Krishna. So Prabhu kahe Vishnu Vishnu ki kaha sarva bhauma ati stuti haya e nindara lakshana. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Sarvam Bhattacharya, what are you saying? Lord Vishnu, save me. Lak Vishnu, Vishnu. Such glorification is simply another form of blasphemy. Prabhupada says the Lord herein confirms that if one is overestimated, glorification is just another form of blasphemy. In this way, he protests this so-called offensive statement. So the idea is Atistuti Haya e Nindara Lakshana. Atistuti, stuti means glorification. When somebody glorifies us beyond our adhikar, like we are like minor devotees and somebody put us on a pedestal which is above who we really are, atistuti haya ai nindara lakshana, it means they are blaspheming us actually. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says such glorification is simply another form of blasphemy. um, And in the purport, um, 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 in this way, he protests this so-called offensive statement. So actually, honestly, one should not, ideally, one should not glorify, one should not criticize. Ideally, we don't see. I mean, it, definitely, we should not glorify ever anyone's material qualities. Like, um, Prabhu, you are very any material quality one should not glorify. If one glorifies, one should glorify um, spiritual qualities, devotional qualities, and one should not over glorify because that will result in pride. Another experience that I have is I usually avoid both criticism and glorification unless necessary. Like we see spiritual master, they say you are a sincere devotee. They don't usually say that you are a great soul. So somehow, there is no need to unnecessarily glorify. Sometimes devotees do that for the sake of developing relationship. But the thing with that is you may end up in putting the devotee on a pedestal beyond where the devotee lies. Another thing that I've heard in a lecture is actually when you glorify somebody, um, you create a lot of pressure on him. For example, if you say somebody that, Prabhuji, your whatever, your kirtan was out of the world, your class was out of the world, your dressing was out of the world, your etc etc. Your humility is out of the world. Your different devotees will see different devotional aspects and different devotees and they glorify. So the thing is, by glorification, you are putting the person in lot of pressure. Like suppose I say, this devotee, Prabhu, your kirtanas are always so sweet. And next time when the devotee will do kirtan, and if I am there, then he will become conscious that I wish my kirtan comes out to be sweet because this devotee has already glorified me that my kirtans are very sweet, and now I have to sing. So I wish. So the material desire comes there. Then instead, the devotee will do kirtan. Instead of doing kirtan for the pleasure of Radha Gopi Jana Vallabh and Prabhupada, that devotee will become conscious while doing kirtan that, yeah, it should be sweet. Because what happens now, when you glorify, then they become glory conscious instead of Krishna conscious, and it creates such pressure on them because now they have to they want to maintain that stature, that pedestal that we have put them on. And it's not always sweet. I mean, sometimes we have Krishna's verse and sometimes we don't have Krishna's verse. So um, um, uh, my spiritual master says, I mean, this is a heavy statement. He says, if somebody glorifies you, he's your enemy. I mean, this is a heavy statement. Um, um, because there is a tendency that okay, there is something here. Um, there is a question. It is advised most of the time to see good and glorify always. Well, Prabhuji, I see this is a little controversial topic. Seeing good is very well. To glorify always for the sake of relationship is good. Um, if you glorify somebody, glorification should be genuine. What I've heard, um, definitely we should not glorify any material qualities. Um, it's better to glorify than to criticize. Um, Another thing I've heard, I mean, these are all different views, Prabhu. I myself glorify devotees, but I have seen glorification helps to encourage. one has to be careful. One should not be free flow with glorification for sure, like all the time glorifying, glorifying, glorifying. If it is genuine, if it is really coming from one's heart, one should glorify, keeping Krishna in the center. One should make sure that through that glorification, the pride is not coming, but Krishna's mercy is coming in the center. For example, one way to glorify is, Prabhuji, I can see that um, Krishna is giving you, um, say, voice to sing. Prabhuji, Krishna is helping you to sing nicely. Prabhuji, Krishna is inspiring you to speak nicely. Prabhuji, Krishna is empowering you. Prabhuji, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. This is good. In this way, you are giving the devotee the answer that the devotee is not the doer, it's Krishna who is behind it. And that is a good glorification. But glorification like, प्रभु जी आप तो महाभागवत है, प्रभु जी आप तो क्या हिला दिया आपने. So the person will start thinking कि मैंने हिला दिया, मैंने कुछ महान काम किया. So that is sometimes okay to um, to develop relationship. Especially, I'm sharing different aspects of glorification. Especially um, if some aparad happens, somebody is displeased with us, then we may say ki Prabhuji, um, um, I'm impressed by your devotional qualities, or then kind of, if there is some negativity that helps to clear that out, that is very nice. Generally, at least what I personally do in my life is, um, less glorification, no criticism, as much as needed speak. Otherwise, and if you glorify, then glorify keeping Krishna in the center. Otherwise, the biggest trouble, in the biggest one of the biggest obstacle in life of devotee is false pride. We want to make sure through our behavior we are not impeding in others Krishna consciousness. Rather, we are making them more Krishna conscious. We are not making them I, me, my consciousness. There is another thing I have heard about glorification. Glorification can be pure. Glorification can also be out of envy. Glorification out of envy means, um, I cannot do it so nicely, and so I'm glorifying the other person because I cannot. Uh, there is, when we are glorifying, there may be, if we are not pure, there may be a subtle element within us that we are glorifying, because we are seeing that others are better than me, and therefore we are glorifying. Especially if there's a direct glorification, which is again, um, mixed views. I mean, I'm not saying fully yes or no, but I'm sharing some thoughts. Now, question, Prabhu, maybe what are the, does it make sense? Are there concerns, doubts?
Generally, like for the envy or something, it's like indirect appreciation. Instead, appreciate directly is what I heard in some lectures.
Yeah, it helps in certain way, because um, when you appreciate directly, then so what happens is, when there is envy, the other person will see that we are avoiding talking to him, and he may get some feelings. But if we appreciate, Prabhu, I'm very happy that you did this or something, then he kind of, it helps improve relationship. Again, I said, if it is um, helping to improve relationship, it is okay. But if they're like, um, we don't see like many sannyasis or different spiritual masters, Srila Prabhupada, doing lot of glorification. In fact, we see, because it's a matter of training. In fact, we see when somebody is doing really well, then then Prabhupada would go and tell the devotee, Prabhu Krishna is the doer. And kind of, so one thing is, Prabhu, you are great and you have done so well. Another thing, you go and say that, Prabhuji, Mataji, Krishna is helping you. In some way or other, you are pleasing Guru and Krishna. Be the way you are. So our purpose at the end of glorification is, they should become more humble. Um, they should develop more gratitude to Krishna. So a tree is known by its fruit. What is the effect of glorification? One has to see that. Um, and here, um, uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling such glorification is another form of blasphemy. Um, and Prabhupada says the Lord herein confirms that if one is overestimated, glorification is, just another form of blasphemy. In this way, he protests this so-called offensive statement. So Prabhupada is calling over glorification as offensive statement. As much as possible, Srimad Bhagavatam describes never glorify material qualities. Material qualities. Always glorify devotion. Okay, Prabhuji, sincere sadhana karte hain. You are very sincere devotees. You chant in the morning, that's wonderful. So in a way, glorify the spiritual, because when you're glorifying something now, then you are encouraging them to do that more. So sincere sadhana karte hain, so we are telling them, okay, और ज़्यादा sincere sadhana करो. It's an encouragement. So one has to be little bit discriminative there. Does it answer, Prabhu? More follow up on this?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay. I think we are coming to the end of this discussion. Just 2-3 more. I mean, last phase. The chapter is ending. As all the rivers flow into the sea, all the devotees throughout the country finally came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shelter. Thus, I have described the meaning of all the Vaishnavas with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whoever hears this description ultimately attains shelter of his lotus feet. So, this chapter is mainly basically setting the scene. All the devotees came surrounding Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Padayara As Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahi Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I Krishnadas Naresh Chaitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps. And next chapter we will see Advaita, Srivas, Haridas Thakur, Shivananda Singh, and all different devotees ecstatically chanting and dancing, coming from Mayapur, and they are meeting with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after over 2 years, and introducing Maharaj Pratap Rudra also when he witnessed that Sankirtan. So that is our next chapter. Okay, any discussion at this point of time before we end?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat.
Mataji Dandavat.
Bilva Mangal Thakur is prior to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhuji.
Yes. And that's how we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would read the book written by Bilamanga Thakur, Krishna Karnamrita.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. And we also see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the holy place near uh, uh, Pandharpur, no, I'm mixing. Yeah, where he did bhajan also, if I'm right. And then he went to Vrindavan also eventually. But yeah. Any other question? Who is iPhone?
Sushimna Prabhuji.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We'll end here. Vanchakalpatarubhesha kripa sindhube evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णवेंद्र की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद। दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी, माता जी, हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna.